Namaste to everyone. As a part of the development dialogue with the Vanaprasthas, today we have a eminent speaker with us. To start the session, may I request Shri Sumanji to start the Prarthana. Shri Sumanji.
Namaskar to all of you. I will request all of you be in the Chin Mudra, and we will have the 3 Omkars together. Inhale deeply. नमस्कार मुद्रा प्रार्थना एक साथ करेंगे। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Sumanji. May I request Shri Balasubramaniam ji, Kendra worker of Vivekananda Kendra, Chennai, to welcome one and all and introduce the speaker of today's session, Shri Balasubramaniam ji.
Namaste. On behalf of Satyam Project and Vivekananda Kendra, I have great pleasure in welcoming all of you to this wonderful evening. We have with us today Shri Aravindan Neelakandan, who is a prolific writer. He has worked in the Natural Resources Development Project of Vivekananda Kendra from the year 2004 to 2014. Before that, he was awarded a Junior Research Fellowship in Cultural Economics by India's Ministry of Tourism to research the economic viabilities of the neglected areas in Kanyakumari district in Tamil Nadu. He co-authored a very famous book called Breaking India, which is a well-researched work on the global nexus of the forces which are inimical to the sovereignty of our country. He also co-authored several other books, famous among them.
AABA 6925 Gmail.
Being Ari Peridhu in Tamil. He has authored several books in English and Tamil. He was also part of the editorial team of Yo Bharati and Vivekananda Kendra Patrika. 2 volumes on Aryan invasion theory and 1 volume on Vedic wisdom were among the several titles which he edited while he was having the responsibility of the editorialship in Vivekananda Kendra. He is now currently a contributing editor of Swarajya magazine. We request Shri Aravindan ji to take over, present the idea.
May I request Shri Aravindan ji to deliver his speech. Over to Aravindan Neelakandan ji.
Okay. So, when I was told to give a session on for the Vanaprastha, to give the Vanaprastha session, I chose the topic Arunagirinathar. Now, for non-Tamil people, unless you have Google, the name would be a bit unfamiliar to you. this Arunagiri, the name Arunagirinathar is a bit, maybe bit unfamiliar to you. He was one of greatest saints of late medieval Tamil Nadu. 15th century. He lived in 15th century Tamil Nadu. And he was a great synthesizer. He synthesized three important spiritual streams: Saivism, Vaishnavism, and Shakta traditions. He was a great devotee of Subramanya, Lord Muruga, and the amount of poetry that he has given, its lyrical value, its musical value, its mystical value, its poetic beauty, all these are incomparable. Had he been born in any other world languages, he would have been celebrated as a great genius. He was a great genius. In fact, if we think of the modern classical South Indian music called Carnatic music, the contribution of Arunagirinathar to this Carnatic music is really great. Unfortunately, it has not been much explored outside Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, he is a legend. But what does he have to do with our session, our purpose of the life cycle problem? What does he have to do anything with this? That is the question that would arise to many people. Now, let us go through this in two ways. One is his life history itself. His life history we gather from various oral traditions, and it says something like, it goes something like this. He was brought up by his sister. He was orphaned at a very early age. In her deathbed, his mother told his sister that she should take care of Arunagirinathar in such a way that he never feels the loss of his parents. So with this, the sister was giving all her love to this young Arunagirinathar, and he becomes a spoiled brat. He doesn't go to school. He doesn't learn anything. Even that is okay. He becomes a kind of hedonist. He develops all kinds of vices. And at one particular point of time, the result of all these vices, he develops a lot of diseases. And everybody shuns him away. Still, he goes and seeks pleasure. At one particular point of time, the sister who had been supporting him all along, at last told him, okay, if you want pleasure, sell me in the market and you have pleasure. At this particular point of time, he realized to what point he has gone down in life. And then he decides, okay, I will end my life. So here is a person, the prime of his youth, had gone into all kinds of vices, and because of that, he decides that his life is a total failure. Let us end the life. So he was a native of Tiruvannamalai, where Ramana Maharishi was born. He gets the top of the tower and he decides to jump from there. And it is from here that the life of Saint Arunagirinathar starts. The tradition says that Lord Muruga himself came and held him, and then with his spear he wrote the Pranava mantra in his tongue, and then he became this guy who had never visited any school or had always been immersing himself in all kinds of worldly pleasures. Suddenly he becomes a prolific poet. He sings and sings and sings. Unfortunately, we don't have all his poems. It was during the British time, a court munsif, whose name was Subramanya Pillai, and he listened to one of the surviving lyrics, and he was so attracted by it, he started collecting all the poems that were available. He went from village to village and he collected all the poem scripts and he compared everything, and after his time, his son Sengalvaraya Pillai, he started working on these lyrics and he compiled all this, and that is how we have got a collection. It is called Tiruppugal. Tiruppugal essentially means the auspicious praise of the Lord. Now, this is his life. He lived, he sang songs and songs and songs, and it is said that at last he entered into the body of a parrot, and he still lives in Tiruvannamalai, the sacred place of Tiruvannamalai. So that is his life story. Now, coming to our topic, I am taking two of his songs to deal with the life cycle thing. And one of the songs is, it goes something like this. I won't tell the Tamil lyrics, but rather I would say it starts like Tundi Sariga Magire, Velira Nire, Tanda Masaya Muduge, Idal Tunga, Urge Badi, Mail Vara Magalin Nakayadi. So essentially it means something like this. It goes on and on. I will tell it. He is talking about himself. At one particular point of time in life, my stomach, my tummy starts sagging. My hair starts graying. My erstwhile perfect teeth, about which I don't have to even worry about, it starts shaking. My back starts hunching. My lips are dropping. And so what happens when I walk, one hand is resting on the supporting cane. And as I walk on the streets, the girls would be giggling and they would be sort of talking to themselves. Who is this old guy? And when they talk like that, I want to answer who I am, what I am in my youth and all that. I want to answer. But when I open my mouth, what happens? Only the coughing comes. I start coughing. My speech becomes very incoherent. And my eyes starts dimming. At the next stage, my eyes start dimming. Slowly blindness sets in. My ears becomes deaf. And I get afflicted with all kind of diseases. Now, the doctor comes, the Vaidya comes. I have to pay the Vaidya. And all that is over. Now I am almost in my deathbed. And with all pain is over my body, I am struggling with the pain. My children come and ask me, where is the money? What are the properties that you have? Give me the documents and all that. They start asking me. Think about this. This here written in 15th century. So the father lying on the deathbed telling, these are all the properties I have. These are all the share markets, the shares that I have bought and all that. And then he starts to tell, what are all the loans I have started? What are all the loans I have? And then that is the point when the children start telling, okay, father is getting delirium, father is hallucinating. That is the particular point, right? So he says, I'll be suffering with pain and the children will be coming and pestering me about the properties, and I'll be telling them about my assets and liabilities. And seeing all this, my wife faints. And the last point comes when I cannot control even my motion. The motion starts going and my life dims. I can see the messengers of Yama coming and standing before me. So this he describes the complete painful phase of the old age. He describes all that. At once, in a very lyrical way, he says, okay, at this particular point of time, Lord, you should come and you should come on your peacock and you should give me the solace. He says, and then at once, very suddenly, he changes the entire poetry. He talks about a mother calling her child to have food. He sings about that. The mother says, come to me, my Lord. Come to me, jewel of my dynasty. Come to me, my son. Come fast, my darling child. Come, my eye of my eyes. Come to me, my life. Come, O handsome boy. Come, O my king. Come and drink this milk. Come and get adorned with flowers. So he says this. And then he shows who is this mother and who is the child. The mother is Kausalya. The child is Rama. And then he says, because his beloved Lord is Murugan. So he goes back and says, the child Rama, whom Kausalya calls with such love, that Rama has you as his son-in-law. That Muruga come and rescue me when I am having my old age. Now, just think about this from a psychological point of view. When we get into the old age, usually what happens? Everything around us becomes meaningless. What matters most is the pain that we have. We had a very great, famous science writer in Tamil. His name was Sujata Rangarajan. And he said about when he was getting his old age, he said this: when I was young, I wanted to be a great person who conquers the entire world. That was my mission. I would write, and through my writings, I would conquer the entire world. I would change the world. When I was young, that was my mission. But now, when I am 70, in the morning, if I go to the bathroom properly and if I come out, that itself is my mission of life. So, from a very strong mind, we move over, when we move over to the old age, every day becomes really hard. At this particular point of time, what happens when you look at young people, we get irritated, we get angry. When they do something, the music they hear, we get irritated. The kind of dresses they wear, we get irritated. The way they talk with each other, we get irritated. So, not all, but many old people, they become a bundle of irritation. It is because of this pain. It is because of, in a way, it is because of the fear. And Arunagirinathar says at this particular point of time, how we overcome this, he tells, move back to those glorious times. What is the most glorious time for a person who is at the evening of his life? The most glorious time is when he was having his child and he was giving all his love to the child. That is the most glorious, most beautiful moment of life. But most of the time, what happens? The fathers always have quarrels with the sons. If they go back and think about those beautiful childhood memories, then they may also start thinking about, oh, see, such a beautiful boy now, what he has become. Such a wonderful girl I brought up. But now, see, what has become of her. So, naturally, this kind of differences may come. But there is one place, one space where you can have an eternal child and you can show her all the love to the child. You can go back to the memory of your old times and you can take this eternal child and place that child for showering all your love. And who is that child? The child here is Sri Rama. For you, it may be Sri Krishna. For you, it may be another one, God or goddess. In Tamil literary tradition, we have something called Pillai Tamil. Pillai Tamil essentially means you envision your beloved God, your beloved deity as a child. And then you show all your love to the child, go through each and every stage of the child's development. And in Tamil, we have a very beautiful tradition called, there are 10 stages. They have looked at the child's development in 10 stages. If you are a psychologist, then you may right now remember Piaget. So Piaget talked about cognitive development stage and all those kind of things. But here it is even more holistic because it takes into account the response of the parent to a particular stimulus that the child gives. It is a kind of an interaction between the child and the parent. So it starts from the 3rd month because the first 2 months you are not supposed to bring the child out. So on the 3rd month, you start taking the child to your Kuladevata temple and you start praying for the protection of the child. In the 5th month, the next stage starts. Here, the child starts to crawl, and when your sound, it can hear it, and then it moves its leg a bit and looks at you. That gives a pressure to the parent. Now remember, this is about the god or the goddess. You either think of, for example, there is a famous literary genre of this particular genre, famous literary work called Meenakshi Amman Pillai Tamil. It envisions the goddess as a child, and then as a parent, the poet looks at the goddess performing these things, these small things. Think of your own child. Think of your own child and think how the movement of each and every movement, every stage of development of the child brought a lot of love and affection to you. Now, in that place, you put the god or the goddess, who would always be an eternal child. So then the third is the talat. Talat is essentially you put the child to sleep by singing. Now the child is in such a stage that it can listen, it can understand the meaning, the melody, and it can go to sleep. So you can sing songs, lullaby, and make it go to sleep. So that is another one parental experience. Now you take that parental experience and you feel it. If you go through the entire poem of Arunagirinathar, you will find that he has made this step by step. He has made this. He is telling, don't worry about this old age. Don't get into the pain of the old age. Go back to the most beautiful time of your life and take the God, take the divine and put that divine there and shower all your life, love, relive all those beautiful experiences with this eternal child. That way, you will be able to overcome this problem of old age. You will be able to become again a very beautiful world person. In fact, in another one great poet called Chekila, he once said that when he was describing about a saint who was living in a old age, he said the most handsome old age. He doesn't describe the saint as handsome. He said the saint has attained the handsome old age. What do you mean by handsome old age? Just look at the photos of Shri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, who was the Jagadguru Ganji Sangracharya of the Kanchi Peetham. If you look at his young age photos and you look at his old age photos, you will be able to see that the old age photos radiate a very beautiful warmth. Look at the photos of Mahatma Gandhi when he was young and when he was old. The old age, you will see that he is more beautiful, more handsome, more appealing. The point again is this, that if you can come into the old age in a very beautiful way, then you are not this irritable person. You don't get irritated. And how do you achieve this? You achieve this by going back to your most beautiful young period, relive it in your mind, relive it in your being by fixating it to something that is beyond time. So you are going back in time. At the same time, you are anchoring yourself to something that is beyond time. And you are envisioning that thing that is beyond time into something that is beautiful as your own child. Now you are showering all the love that you showered on your infant child, on Sri Rama. So this is one poem of Arunagirinathar that gives you a very beautiful mechanism, a very beautiful process to shield yourself against the very real physical discomforts that will be coming in the old age. That is number one. Now, there is another one beautiful song that actually talks about the entire meaninglessness of a person's life. What happens? See, he puts himself and he talks. He says that, okay, when my mother became pregnant, I was inside her womb for 10 months. After that, I came out. And once I came out, they washed my body. And then whenever I was crying, they used to breastfeed me. And when they kept me down, I again will start crying. And again, they would take me and they would put me in their shoulder and they would rub my back. And then they started to shower me with a lot of beautiful ornaments. And they used to praise the way I walk. They used to praise the way I talk and all that. And slowly I became an adolescent. And I was frolicking around and I was having a lot of fun around. And after that, what happened? I got a lot of diseases. And after that, what happened? I became afflicted with old age. and then at last I died. So this is life. For everyone, this is life. He says this, and then he says, so now the question comes, if this is life, should we even care to live? What is the purpose of life? So most of the people live like this. Then he says, you know, there was this monkey, which was actually Indra. Indra was born as a monkey. And that was Sugriva. Then Brahma was born as Jambavan. Agni was born as Neela. Rudra himself was born as Hanuman. These devas, they were born in this species of monkeys, and they achieved great deeds. They did great deeds. Even today we talk about those great deeds. So you have your life is human life. If the devas chose the species of monkeys to do this great work, then what about the human life? Wouldn't you be actually a choice of a great deva? You are living a life, but that life is actually enclosing perhaps a great deva who had come here for a divine mission. And particularly you have to take here the mission of Hanuman. Remember Hanuman jumping over the sea to go and find Mother Sita. Just think about that particular process. As he was going, he was encountering a lot of obstacles. Of these obstacles, there is one obstacle that is very important. It is called, it was an Rakshasi. She used to capture the shadow. She used to capture the shadow of any being that was flying over the ocean in the space. She would capture the shadow, and the living being would fall down and she would devour it. We have to understand this very carefully because this contains an important psychological principle. Remember, had Hanuman been not told about the hidden powers in him by Jambavan, he would never have jumped over the sea. So the Jambavan made him aware of his latent powers that are already in him. That is exactly what education is supposed to do to us, right? Swami Vivekananda said that education is bringing out the divinity that is already in you, the perfection that is already in you. The same way Jambavan brought out all the powers that are already in Hanuman. And because he became aware of these powers, he chose to fly. And when he was flying, his shadow was caught by this Araki, this Rakshasi, Chayagrahi. So she captured the shadow. Now, in psychology, shadow has a very particular technical meaning. Consider yourself as a very good person. The more you are a good person outward, the shadows inside you grow. They are the negative, symmetrical aspects of your good self. If you are a very honest person, the shadow inside you, you are unaware of that particular shadow, but the shadow is inside you, very slowly tempting you, very slowly poisoning you to become dishonest. You are a person who is 100% honest, then the shadow is just waiting. It is waiting in your unconscious, in your personal unconscious. It is waiting there to grab you for a particular situation. What is that situation? That situation is you trying to do something good. You trying to do something good with absolute freedom, with absolute power. So here is Hanuman jumping over the space with absolute freedom and absolute power. And when he is doing that, the shadow is grabbed. The shadow is grabbed. If he chooses not to fly, if you choose not to fly, if you choose yourself not to get involved in a particular mission, then your shadow will never be caught. It is the people who are ready to venture outside in a brave manner, who are ready to do some divine mission, who are ready to serve others, who are ready to serve a higher purpose. For those persons, the shadow will be caught by the demoness. And at that particular point, what happens? Remember, very Hanuman, the great Mahavira Hanuman, he fell down. The Rakshasi was able to capture him. And once the shadow was caught, he fell down. How he came out? He cut open the stomach of the Rakshasi and he came. Unlike in the case of the previous test, in which the Naga Devada, she opened her mouth very big and very intelligently he came out of it. He didn't kill her. But in this case, it is different. Your intelligence doesn't work. Your maneuvering doesn't work. Here, you have fallen deep inside. Then you can allow the shadow to define you, or you can allow your mission to define you. You come out. The fall doesn't matter. That you come out does matter. And who does this? Hanuman does this. Who was Hanuman? Hanuman was a monkey. And actually, Hanuman was also the Amsa Avadara of Rudra. If Rudra chooses Hanuman, then won't he choose you? Won't he be inside you? So your life outside, if you are going to have your life only as a superficial, pleasure-seeking, name-seeking life, then there is a problem. Then there is a problem that your life becomes empty at the end. But if you decide to make yourself a servant of the divine, if you make yourself venture with all your power, venture with all your intelligence, venture with all your freedom for the sake of a higher purpose, for the sake of Mother Sita, for the sake of Ram Seva, if you are going to do that, then remember, you will have falls, you will have a lot of obstacles to face, but your life will not be empty. Your life will be filled with a purpose. So what Arunagirinathar does is he distinguishes these two. An empty life, a life lived very beautifully, very wonderfully, having a lot of fun, but empty. Then against that, he shows the lives of monkeys in the forest, which have been chosen by the divine to do a great work. By contrasting these two, what he tells us, he tells us that you can make your life very, very meaningful. You can make your life very, very beautiful. You can make your life very, very useful. And in doing that, you have to be like Hanuman. You have to be fixated on your mission. There can be falls. There can be a lot of obstacles in your life, but you can overcome all with your mind in rescuing Sita, your mind in taking the message of Rama to Sita. Nothing else matters. If you are having that, then you can come out of the demoness, you can devour her and you can come out and you can make your mission define your life. So these are the two songs that I wanted to share with you. There is a third song also that I want to share. Now, nowadays, a lot of people, when they need solace, they go around seeking miracles. They go around seeking miracles and then they get themselves caught in cults, in kind of mystic mumbo jumbo. Arunagirinathar says a very beautiful poem. In that poem, he says, it's matchless. He says, how you have to get liberation? It's simple. Stop your mind. Stop your mind, number one. Tadungol manadai. Vidungol veguli. Veguli essentially means anger, grudge, vengeance. All those negative feelings that you have towards others. Envy, all those things. So leave those things. Number one, stop the way your mind is wavering around. You do that. Number two, just stop all negative feeling against the others. And then he says, give, share. Whatever you have, you share. Share with everyone. Share without ego. Share whether you have wealth, whether you have knowledge, you share it. And the fourth thing that he says, just be as you are. You don't have to show yourself as very pious. You don't have to show yourself as a great intellect. You don't have to show yourself as a great philanthropist. Nothing. Stay as you are. Be natural. Then the grace of the Lord would naturally come to you and manifest itself. This is almost like a formula he is giving this. Think about it. He is telling you, be just as you are. You, but be as you are. Don't allow your mind to wander. Be as you are. Don't have any negativity towards anyone and be as you are. Then the grace of the Lord would naturally come and manifest itself. You don't have to go searching for it. You don't have to go searching for the Lord. The Lord will come to you. The divine will come to you and it will shower the grace on you. So these are the three things that I wanted to share with you. Number one is, here is an exercise. When you feel down, physically, mentally, because the life cycle is such that at this particular point of time, when we are all moving into the evening of life, there is a strong possibility that you feel absolutely meaningless. What is all this? Let us stop all this. And you may get irritated, and that can affect not only you, but also the people around you. May. I'm not telling everyone is like that. It may do that. In that case, how do you come out of it? Go to the happiest moment of your life, which Arunagirinathar identifies with you taking care of your infant children. And then take the divine as an infant and put it there. It's an eternal divine. You can always consider Sri Krishna. You can always consider Sri Rama. You can always consider the goddess. You can always consider even Shiva as a small child. Think about it. The power that manifests itself as the entire universe with all the black holes, all the galaxies and all the supernova, the entire universe. You are conceiving it as a small child and you are showering your love to it. What greater thing can happen than that in a person's life? Remember, Sri Ramakrishna used to take care of the Ram Lalla. How he used to take care, so beautifully he used to take care that the Rama used to come and sit in his lap. He used to have that vision. So you have this very strong possibility of by showering the love to the Lord as an infant, taking care of the infant in your own way, feeding the infant at a particular time, scolding the person, scolding the child for doing mischief. All this you can do. By doing that, you will relive the most wonderful part of your life, and you will be anchoring that particular time to the timeless eternal child. That is one. The second is, think about the Mahavira Hanuman. Think about the Vanarasena. If the gods themselves, they came and they enshrined themselves in the bodies of monkeys and did this great work of Ram Seva, then we are humans. What great things that we can do by realizing the divine within. Point is, we have to develop a deeper purpose. The point is, we have to develop and realize the inner potential, maximize that inner potential, and in doing that, we should make sure that we are not stopped by any obstacle, by not allowing the obstacles to define us. And then the third thing is this, that you have to live a very, very normal life, a life in which you don't allow the mind to wander into unnecessary things. You don't hold any grudge against anyone, and you give freely what all you have got, your life experiences, your stories, your wealth, your tips for health, all that you can give, freely give. Don't care whether the person takes it or not, but give. But give it in such a way that you don't get an ego for that. It doesn't boost your ego, rather it makes you more and more beautiful, charming, radiating love and beauty. And when you do this, naturally the grace will come and show itself on you. It cannot stop itself. It will come to your doorstep. It will knock the door. You have to open the door and it will come to you. So these are all the lessons that we can take from Arunagirinathar. Because Arunagirinathar is a person who has lived his life. He has seen the lowest point a person can sink to in life. He had seen that. And from there, he emerged as a great giant of spirituality. He defines Tamil spirituality to this day. His Tiruppugal defines Tamil culture to this day. And is definitely one of the greatest spiritual geniuses the human society has ever produced. So when he says that, it is very practical thing. And he did all this some 500 years ago when all this life cycle psychology all became famous. Before that, Arunagirinathar was able to give us this. And so we can use this to better our life, make our life, as I said, more beautiful, meaningful, and useful. Thank you very much. I hope the session was useful to you.
Thank you so much, Arvindji, for enlightening us on the life of Saint Arunagirinathar and the ways to lead a meaningful life and overcome the hurdles of life and get liberated. That was a wonderful, thought-provoking speech by you. Thank you so much, Arvindji. In fact, some of our participants has some doubts about this. It is also there in the what you call screen. I will also read the questions.
Okay.
If you throw some light on those questions, it will be very nice. What is the take home for elders who are much in family life from Saint Arunagirinathar?
The take home thing is this. There is a strong possibility. I am not telling this is how it is. There is a strong possibility that the old people and the young people living in the same house, they have a disconnect at some level. To overcome that, as I said, anchor yourself to a time when you were the most happiest and bring in the divine inside that. Think of that particular time when you were the happiest time of your life and bring in the divine into it. Arunagirinathar says that for a person in his life cycle, the happiest time is when he is with his child, when she is with her child. That is the happiest person, taking care of the infant child. That is when all the love comes out, all completely selfless love comes out. And then he says, you anchor it to the God or the goddess. When you do that, what happens? Your inner being becomes filled with love. And when your inner being becomes filled with love, then your actions become loving. So when your grandson comes and puts the TV with, let us say, Western music that is irritating you beyond limits, you will be able to see that the grandchild's very, very irritating behavior as a kind of a play of the God. So the point is this, that when you meditate upon the happiest period of your life and bringing in divine to it, that is like a formula. Think about the happiest time of your life. Meditate upon the happiest time of your life. Bring inside the God or the goddess that you love into that happiest time of your life. That transforms the time framed period into a timeless quality. And when an experience in your life, a positive experience in your life becomes a timeless quality in your being, then that will provide naturally an atmosphere in which things become positive around you. So in your daily life, everyday activity, this will help you to establish better connection with people around you, whatever may be their age. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. The next question is, when others struggle for salvation through penance, Saint Arunagirinathar realized the godhood through a different route. Does this suit all?
Well, one particular way of say attaining liberation will not suit everyone, but what it does is it gives us hope. That is the most important thing in Arunagirinath's life, that howsoever you have fallen down, in such a way that the most loving person in your life, that person tells the most cringeworthy thing to you. Even at that particular point of time, when he has decided that there is no meaning in living any further, the person who has gone to that particular point of time, okay, that person can come up again. You know, this is something that you can see again and again in all our spiritual traditions. It was when Arjuna was totally frustrated, when he was showing all the signs of clinical neurosis. Okay, he had thrown down the kandiba, he was having sweating and he was shivering. It was at this particular point of time that Bhagavad Gita comes to him, and it is at this particular point of time the Vishwarupa Darsana is given to him, and then he becomes a warrior. So the point here to be noted is, you may not be able to become a musical prodigy like Arunagirinathar, but by trusting in the divine, that even if you are going to jump from a cliff of the mountain or the tower of a temple, that the divine is going to be there to hold you. So when you have that faith in you, then that faith will be able to bring out what is already there in you, whatever hidden capacity is there in you. I will give you one specific example. Recently, during this COVID time, there is a great writer in Tamil who was also a very spiritual person. I didn't even know that this person was spiritual till this particular event happened, actually. His name is Tirupur Krishnan. He was an old man. He has a very young son, 32 years old. They were looking for a bride for this boy. And this boy died of COVID. Then people were expressing condolences to him and all that. Then he wrote a beautiful note to all the people who had expressed the condolences. He said, there was another one writer in the previous generation called Tibam Na Parthasarathi. And there was another one veteran writer called Sisu Sellappa. Sellappa was some 70, 75 years old. And this Tibam Na Parthasarathi was 50, 55, 52, 53 years old. And suddenly, this Parthasarathi died. And Sisu Sellappa was very upset, and somebody told him, I have forgotten the name of that person. He was telling, why should the young leaves go when these old leaves are there? Why should the young leaf go? And then that man said to him, who are you to decide which is the young leaf and which is the old leaf? Which is the leaf that is going to wither away? Who are you to decide? The karmic dynamics, nobody knows. After Sisu Sellappa heard this, in his 80th year, he wrote some of the greatest literary works of Tamil. Okay, so the point I want to tell is this, that in life, not losing the hope at any particular phase of life and going inside your own resources. What purpose of divine is this? The purpose of divine is not to look into some extra cosmic God sitting in some higher plane. The purpose of divine is to help us bring what are all inside us, maximize our human capacity, maximize the human possibilities. And to do that, use all these spiritual traditions that gives you. There is Mahabhakta Vijayam that contains a lot of stories. In fact, the entire Hindu Indian spiritual tradition is built on telling stories. It is not built on rituals. It is not built on art forms. It is not built on temples. All these are animated by the stories, telling stories. These stories help us to meditate upon, draw our own inner strength. And look at the variety of stories. Look at the variety of ways in which our saints have come from being ordinary persons to greater persons. There was, for example, there was one Sakya Nayana. His statue is there in all Shiva temples. The only thing that he did was, being a Buddhist, whenever he saw a Shivalinga, he would throw a stone on it. He would throw a stone on it. He religiously did this and he got liberated. Now, can we do the same? Depends upon your aptitude, depends upon your guna, it depends upon your manifestation of your inner abilities, guna karma. That would decide what is the path that you choose, what is the path that is dear to you. And all these stories, all these life histories of our saints, they give us that hope. Whatever your path, be sincere in that path. Even if you have fallen, you can always come. That is the point from Arunagirinath's life.
Thanks, Ji. Is there a possibility to retrieve the lost songs of Shri Arunagirinathar?
See, actually, Vadakpatti Subramaniya Pillai and Sangalvaraya Pillai, they did extraordinary work. Went from village to village and they collected the poems. All that is available, they have collected. And this itself runs into volumes. One. I will just tell you an anecdote. Again, telling stories are really good. But this is not a story. This is an event that happened. You would have known about U.A. Saminath Iyer. For the non-Tamil people, U.A. Saminath Iyer was the person who went from village to village collecting all ancient Tamil literary works, the Sangam literature. We today have the Sangam literature because of U.A. Saminath Iyer. So U.A. Saminath Iyer was in his deathbed. And Sangalvaraya Pillai, the same way he had collected all this Tirupugal, Arunagirinath's work. So Sangalvaraya Pillai had gone to meet U.A. Saminath Iyer. So U.A. Saminath Iyer was there. Sangalvaraya Pillai went and touched his feet. U.A. Saminath Iyer got up. Despite the fact that he was very weak, he got up as if some electric current has gone into him. He has got an electric shock. He just got hold of the hands of Sangalvaraya Pillai and brought it to his eyes. So Sangalvaraya Pillai was asked, what are you doing? You are a great person and I am touching your feet. You are doing like this. And he said, why you touched my feet? He asked. And he said, yours are the legs that went for the sake of Tamil from village to village and collected all this. So I touched your feet and in respect. Then U.A. Saminath Iyer told him, yours are the hands that went and collected the Tirupugal and edited it and published it. So I touched your hands with reverence. So this kind of great people, they have gone and they have done the work. If we go search and if we get further palm leaves, it will be really good. It will be really great. Of course, the search should be there. But the most important thing that we have to do is we have to take this to our posterity. And we have to take it to all the people around India. Remember that Arunagirinathar is also a great visionary who envisioned India as one. There is a beautiful song on Ganesha that every child in Tamil Nadu sings. Okay. It is called Kaithalam Niragan. In that song, he says, Muttamil Adavini Muppadu Kiridani Muppada Eluthiya Mudalvani. What essentially it means is that you wrote on the Himalayas with your tusk the great triune Tamil work. Now, this is very interesting because we all know that Ganesha wrote Mahabharata. Mahabharata was in Sanskrit. Mahabharata he wrote in Himalayas was in Sanskrit and it was not in Tamil. So I asked, my father was a Tamil professor, so I asked him this. What is this? He's telling that Muttamil Adavini. And then my father said, just look at the word, Muttamil Adavini, the essence of the triune Tamil. So he is saying, what is Mahabharata? My father asked me, what is Mahabharata? What does Mahabharata teach? What is the essence of Mahabharata? The essence of Mahabharata is Dharma. So the essence of the triune Tamil is again Dharma. So all Indian languages, the essence and what you get from all Indian languages is Dharma. So it doesn't matter in what language. He wrote it in Sanskrit, but what you got is Dharma. And Dharma is also the essence of the Tamil language. Now, Mahagavi Bharati later sang, Cheppu Moli Padi Mettudayal Enil Sindhane Ondudayal. She has 18 languages. About Bharat Mata, he said, she has 18 languages. She has diverse languages, but there is one thought that runs through them. Now, you can tell that there is a continuity between Arunagirinath's thought and Bharati's thought. So these aspects of Arunagirinathar should be brought to the younger generation and to the children throughout India.
Saint Arunagirinathar had not received any formal learning. He had no opportunity to study scriptures in depth. In fact, he spent time seeking pleasure. It defies reason that how such a person could compose a great masterpiece like Tirupugal that equals the knowledge of the Vedas.
Well, see, this history of Arunagirinathar is based on oral traditions. For the bhaktas, for the devotees, it is enough that Goddess herself came, Murugan himself came and wrote the Pranava mantra in his tongue. That is enough. And he could burst into a song, very beautiful song. To this day, it defies any kind of explanation. Again, if you look at the parallel, you find that a 3-year-old child was given milk by Parvati and it sings its first song. And in the songs it says, Men Ullam Kavar Kalvan. Essentially, it is bridal mysticism. So here is a 3-year-old child that sings a song that contains capacity to be explained as bridal mysticism. So how does this happen? These are things that beyond ordinary explanations. We can say that these are oral traditions. Actually, Arunagirinathar should have been a person who was well learned and all that. We can say that. But we know time and again, in the case of India, there are a lot of saints who, with no formal education, or people who had in previous stage of their life completely hedonistic, they have suddenly become mystic. They have been prodigies in the chosen fields. We have seen that again and again. So basically, perhaps in future psychology, we may be able to explain it, or it will always remain a mystery.
Thank you. Does Rama and others knew that they were the incarnations of God? If yes, what is the greatness in their success? If no, then will it carry some meaning for common man?
Well, that is the most important point here, because Valmiki himself is very clear. When the Agni Pravesa happens, then Dasratha and others come and they tell, why you are behaving like this, you are Vishnu himself. Then what Rama says is very clear. I don't know. I consider myself a human being. I am the son of Dasratha. That is what Rama says. If Rama himself says that, if Rama himself was wearing this veil of humanity around him, and if you look at Rama's behavior, when Sita was abducted, he cries and cries and cries. And if you look at all that, you know that he was wearing the veil of his humanity very well, and he was behaving as a human. So if Rama himself was doing that, then there is no question of the Vanaras realizing their divine nature in a very conscious way. The point here that Valmiki, by juxtaposing this with the futility of a very superficial life lived well, is because he wants to impress upon us this fact that if gods can choose to be inside Vanaras, then humans how much potential they should be having inside. We don't know what Devadas and Devas are inside us, waiting for us to find them out. The Jambavan moment of Hanuman, waiting for that to happen. So that is the point. So here, the Vanaras as well as Sri Rama and Lakshmana not realizing their or assuming the human cloak around them very well, or the Vanara cloak around them very well, has a very important significance for our lives.
Thank you, Aravindan ji. From the participant side, if anyone would like to have some questions, clarifications, you can ask by unmuting yourself. If there are no questions, we'll go to the concluding part. It was really a wonderful satsang for us, Aravindan ji. Now I request Shri Prasad, the coordinator for the project from Karnataka, to give his vote of thanks. Shri Prasad ji.
Namaste, Hari Om. It was very wonderful to listen from our Aravindan Neelakandan ji, a well-known think tank, and always available for Vivekananda Kendra activities. I remember our days in Kanyakumari where I used to listen his talks, even in Chennai, many of the seminars or the camps, Shibir. So, having a well addressed, or what I can say, the deep-rooted knowledge on the subject, the scriptures, and that is what is the need of the hour, such type of, the creative minority which will lead others and give the guidance. So that is what we know, that in this time of, now we are celebrating the International Yoga Day also, where pradarshana is happening. So more than that, how yoga can become a darshana for us, and how we can, an inward journey we can start, as yoga is the way of life for, transforming ourselves. How from the great souls like Arunagirinathar and all, how we can learn and put a simple life, whatever points, whatever he told, how whatever weakness of our mind is there, and how we can remove and come out of the negativities, and how we can transform ourselves, and finding out the divinity within, how we can charge ourselves, those points, and living a simple life, how we can learn from our Arunagirinathar and all. This all very beautifully with beautiful points our Aravindan ji has explained, and it will be an asset for everybody. That transformation will happen when we put it into in our day-to-day life. So we know that Bharat is the land of great rishis, the Deva Bhumi, as it is the Rishi Bhumi. So it is a land of knowledge, and how we can learn from the great rishis, Rishi Parampara, Guru Parampara, how we can learn and inculcate in our day-to-day life and transform ourselves and to live a simple life. These all points very beautifully in a simple language Aravindan ji has explained to us. We are always fortunate to listen to you, and we are very much thankful for your spending the valuable time with the Vivekananda Kendra family. And the elders, it is not the elders, they are living with enthusiasm, and the dynamic spirit is there. Yes, we can do something, and for ourselves and for the humanity. With that thought process, this it is continuing. So when you are spending the valuable time with all of us, it is a fortunate time, that evening times we are spending, and developing ourselves, transforming ourselves, changing ourselves, and to become a new light is entering to in ourselves. So we are very fortunate and very much thankful on Vivekananda Kendra family. We wholeheartedly express our sincere gratitude to Neelakandan ji for spending your valuable time, and you are the need of the hour. So these all we can, especially from Tamil Nadu and all the great saints and the great personalities who have shown the path, and it is forgetting even. And only I came to know about our Arunagirinathar and all. Otherwise, I was misunderstanding that our Arunagiri means our what is called Ramana Maharshi and all like that. I used to think. So these great poems which he has written on Muruga, such a devotion and bhakti which he created, and the transformation he made in the social life. That is what is the need of the hour, which we need to understand and go to the past and learn from them and live a yogic way of life. For that, your the talks which is organized by Vivekananda Kendra and Natural Resource Development will be helping everybody, all the participants. We should encourage others also. I request other participants also encourage everybody to participate in the weekly programs. So once again, I express Arvindji being part of Vivekananda Kendra family. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad ji. May I request Suman ji to give the Shanti Mantra. Shri Suman ji, please.
Adopt Namaskar Mudra and just visualize the beautiful image of Mahavir Hanumana, and in his presence we will pray. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashyit dukkha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, one and all.